Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the specimen of the tongue. Now, as you can see, the tongue, it is a muscular organ which is situated partly in the oral cavity and partly in the pharynx. Okay. Now, let us see the parts of the tongue. This is the body of the tongue. This is the dorsal surface of the body, whereas this is the inferior surface. This is the tip of the tongue, which is free and lies behind the upper incisor teeth. These are the two free lateral margins. Now, the tongue partly lies in the oral cavity and partly lies in the pharynx, that is the oropharynx. If you see the dorsal surface of the tongue, as I already told you, this is the dorsal surface. It is divided into two parts. The anterior 2/3 part, this is the anterior 2/3 part, and the posterior 1/3 part. This structure, this is the epiglottis. Now the dorsal surface is divided into anterior 2/3 part and the posterior 1/3 part by a V-shaped groove. Okay. The limbs, here you can see I am showing you the limbs of this V-shaped groove that is called as sulcus terminalis. Okay. And in the midline with the two limbs of the V-shaped groove they meet, here is the foramen cecum. Now, on the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, it is rough and shows the presence of papillae. There are 4 types of the papillae. Just in front of the sulcus terminalis, here you can see these large circular shaped papillae. These are the circumvallate papillae. These are about 8 to 12 in number, situated just in front of the sulcus terminalis, and they contain the taste buds. Now, on the lateral side, here you can see 4 to 5 transverse ridges. These are the foliate papillae. Near the margins of the tongue and on the tip, here you see the fungiform papillae, whereas rest of the dorsal surface is covered with very small filiform papillae. The posterior 1/3 of the tongue, this is the posterior 1/3. The posterior 1/3 of the tongue, it does not contain papillae, but instead you can see the presence of lymphatic nodules. That is why the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is called as lingual tonsil, and it forms a part of the Voltaire's lymphatic ring. This is the epiglottis. Now you can see the tongue is connected to the epiglottis by a 3 folds. One is a midline fold that you can see. This is the median glossoepiglottic fold, and on the lateral side there are 2 such folds. These are the lateral glossoepiglottic folds. This is the median glossoepiglottic fold, and these are the lateral glossoepiglottic fold. In between the median glossoepiglottic fold and the lateral glossoepiglottic fold, there is a depression on either side. This is called as vallecula. So this depression, this is called as a vallecula. Now, as I already told you, the tongue is a muscular organ. Okay, so all the muscles of the tongue, they are supplied by the hypoglossal nerve. Now this is a sagittal section. Now here in the sagittal section, you can see, you can very well appreciate, this is the lateral wall of the nose, this is the oral cavity, this is the hard palate, whereas this is the soft palate. In this oral cavity, this is the tongue. So here in the sagittal section, you can appreciate the genioglossus muscle, the fan-shaped genioglossus muscle, okay, which forms the bulk of the tongue. These are the uppermost fibers of genioglossus which go towards the tip of the tongue. These are the middle fibers which get inserted on the dorsum of the tongue, and these are the posterior most fibers which get inserted on the hyoid bone. Okay, so genioglossus, that is called as the safety muscle of the tongue.